This is a session on working at height safety. So basically, we will be talking about what work at height is, how to safely work at height, and do's and don'ts of what to do when at height. Am I audible enough?
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Please go ahead, please.
Okay. So here on work at height, basically I'll start with what do we understand by work at height? So I have a definition for work at height. So here I wrote here that working at height means working at any place where a person can potentially fall and injure, or working at height can be working above ground level. So many times people believe it is until you're working on a rooftop or working on a mast before it is considered working at height. But here I said any work that is done above ground level or that has a potential of resulting to fall and causing injury is classified as work at height. So for some safety professionals, they regard work at height as any work that is being done above 1.8 meters of height. But for me, I say it is any work that is above ground level because even a height of vertical height of about 0.5 meters, you can fall from and it can result to injury. So that is why I say work at height is any work that is done above ground level. But I have an image of a work at height here. We can see someone is working with a lifeline here. We can see someone accessing a ladder in order to gain access to height. So that is work at height. But standard requires that fall prevention and fall protection must be implemented whenever there is a work to be done at height from 1.8 meters and a working platform mandate is mandated for any work done above ground level. So these are two different things. If you are doing a work above ground level, which I said 0.5, 0.2, 0.3, anything that is above any level of work you're doing that is not on a flat surface, it requires, the standard says that you have to have a safe working platform in order to ensure that you do not fall from that level, certain level of height. But the standard also requires that if you're working on a height that is above or from a level of 1.8 meter, which some people say it is 6 feet, you require a fall protection and a fall prevention system to be put in place. Also, I would like to call to our attention that it is not just working at height can be working close to an excavated area. So perhaps you are working close to a drainage or for, I don't know, we have some of guys here that work offshore. So working on a vessel can be classified as work at height because there's a potential of falling overboard. So the standard asset mentioned says that if you are to do any work at height above 1.8, a safe working platform and a fall protection and fall prevention system must be in place. This is an example of a safe working platform, which I have an image of it here. I don't know if everyone can see it. So this is a safe working platform here. And going forward, I made mention of hazards that involve that makes work at height dangerous. And before I move to the hazard, the biggest fear of working at height is fall from height, which I explained briefly here that when working at height, there are possibilities as personnel or accidents like working equipment and materials can fall from height, which can result to bone fracture, bruises, and possible death. Fall from height in the food and drink industry. Here is where I explain the statistics of some industries of accidents of work at height. So in the food and drink industries or the beverage industries, it is the second highest cause of fatal injury. Imagine how work at height can be serious. So you need to, this is why we have made work at height a very serious issue, because imagine in the food and production industry, it is the second highest cause of injuries. Fatal, they didn't just say injury, they said fatal injury, which comprises of about 70% fatal accident, deaths and injuries due to fall from height. Remain huge issues also in the construction industry. So there's a statistics of from 2016, 2017, 2020, and 2021. 50% of all deaths in the construction were due to fall from height. Looking at injuries between 2018 to 2019, 2020 to 2021, 33% of accidents leading to specified injuries, such as fractures or crutches, were due to fall from height, as were 11% on the over 7-day injuries. So that is the explanation of this is within 7 days, most accidents that happens in the construction industry, 11% of it is as a result of fall from height. And this has been a concern across industries because, like I said, in the beverage industries, often there are work at height done there for maintenance and other stuff. And 30% of accidents in the industry, which is the second highest, is a result of fall from height. Imagine how many people we have lost as a result of falling from height, how many people can go to work as a result of fall from height, how many family has been made unhappy as a result of falling from height or as a result of working at height. So 11% in 7 days of accidents that happens in across industries is as a result of work at height. So this is a gentleman here trying to access a ladder. You might know, mostly in our homes, we often want to change our lighting bulbs. We often want to change our curtains, and some people even paint their houses by themselves. So you might want to use a safe working platform or a ladder like this. This ladder this gentleman here is trying to access is called a ladder. So this is a hay ladder, and this gentleman is trying to access it. We don't know what could, for us to know the cause of this accident, we'll have to do an investigation, but definitely this gentleman here is falling probably as a result of distraction, or he is not using the right access method, or anything can have result to this. So even not just at work, at home, there's a potential of falling from height due to working at height while changing our bulb, while trying to pick things from our shelves in the kitchen or in the on the wardrobe. So here had dangers and hazard of work at height, which I highlighted here. I don't know if I am making sense. Please, can I have people just put one on the chat box so I can know if I am making
sense? Yes, boss, we are.
Okay, this is a hazard that makes work at height dangerous, which has made us have a concern. Often these hazards are what results to accidents or incidents at workplace and at home. So here I made mention of poor edge protection. Like I mentioned earlier that when we are working at height, at any level of height, we require fall protection and fall prevention system. So this is a poor edge protection can result to fall from height. So I mentioned here that any tool or equipment placed on edge of height platform can easily fall on people due to vibration or strike by someone. So when working at height, you're working on the rooftop and there is no edge protection to prevent working tools or materials from sliding off from the rooftop. And mistakenly, one of the workers hits perhaps one of the hammer or nail, and someone is passing by, and due to there is no edge protection, then it is a free fall from the height and it hits the person on the head. This can result, if it's a heavy equipment, the person can die. If it is less heavier equipment, it can result to bruises and injuries. The next hazard on work at height is unsecured materials. This is another hazard. Most often when we are working at height, apart from the fact that edges might not be protected, not securing materials and working tools properly is a very big hazard for work at height. For those that are in the scaffolding industry, we know we make use of they make use of the ratchets, and for some scaffolders, you can get carried away, or your ratchet, you might not have a proper grip on it, and it can slip from your hand. And, it starts bouncing from one point to another, bounce, bounce, bounce until it reaches the ground. It can either hit a colleague on the next platform, or it can hit someone on the ground, or it can even bounce out of the work area, and you don't know who is coming. So that's why in the scaffolding industry, it is advised that your ratchet is secured to your body at all times. So even when you're not using it, it is hanging on your body, and it does not have a potential of falling off from your hand. So another hazard I identified here is fragile roof, or we can also say fragile working platform. For people that use these asbestos ceilings in their house, we can say to a certain extent, this is a very fragile roof and a very fragile working platform, because it has a potential of breaking easily if you are not trained, or if it is already very weak. And imagine stepping on the wrong part, or on a very fragile part of the asbestos, or even an aluminum roof. It can cave in, and as a result of that, if you're not careful, if you don't have a fall protection or fall arrest system in place, you can fall, and it can result to bruises, leg injuries, and some people can even die. So when we are working at height, it requires that we have a safe working platform, or ensure that whatever roof we are working on is safe to work on. Another hazard on work at height Another hazard on work at height is inclement weather. I don't want the English to be too big, so I can say, instead of inclement weather, I can say bad weather, or serious weather, such as heavy rainfall. For people that stay in Europe, we have snow, and sometimes it can be the wind. When working at height, we are exposed to higher level of wind when working at height. So it is very important that before you commence a work at height, I advise people often, like for me, I'm going to check the weather forecast. Let me know if it is going to rain or if it is not. Some forecasting agencies even tell you what time it will start to rain. It tells you if it, or then you can plan your job properly if you really want to do this job outside, if it is safe to do, So for inclement weather, it is a big hazard as well for workers. It is advised and it is mandatory that you don't do work at height under inclement weather. You don't do work at height, scaffold erection, roofing jobs, even laying of bricks at height under inclement weather. Another big hazard on work at height now is, this is the basic, like unsafe access to height. Unsafe access to height. This is the basic. This is the beginning. Before you can access a height, you don't jump. We are not Superman, or we are not birds that have wings that can fly. So definitely it is required that there is a safe access for us to get access to that height we want to work hard. So imagine you're making use of a ladder that is damaged, metal a ladder that is already rusted with rusted steps, a wooden ladder that is broken, or or where you want to place your ladder is not well leveled. It means the access is not safe, which means even before you commence the work, or before getting access to that height, there's a potential of an accident happening or getting injury. So unsafe access to height is very important. So whenever you're at home, at work, anywhere you get to meet yourself, you have to, before you even think of going up or doing anything at height, or even planning the job, first think, how safely can I gain access to this height? So if you can provide a safe access to the height, then you can think of how to safely work on whatever platform that you have made provision or on the height you want to work on. The next important one is incompetent workers. In previous years, I've had an experience working with some companies and they're like, don't worry, let's just have these people come and do this job. And then you find out that these people have not been trained to do this job. They have only little or no experience on the job. And this job is a high risk job. And how do you go about it? And they say you want to risk it. So I say, like I always tell people that if you are not skilled on the job, if you are not trained for this job, please don't do it. Because at the long run, your safety is in your own end and you eventually end up getting yourself injured. So prevent working at height if you are not trained or competent enough to work at height. So I like also, it's not just about being trained to work at height. Some people are afraid of height. I remember I was on a site and the project manager came and I was like, okay, do you want to climb up and access this height and see what the guys are doing? I was like, no, it does not think. Then long run, I got to find out that who is scared of height. So some people are scared of height. So it is very important if you have workers come to a workplace or if you want someone to board a ship, you ask the person first, are you scared of heights? Person says, yes, I'm scared of heights. Then you cannot have that person work at heights. So the next one is housekeeping. Housekeeping. Some people take housekeeping for granted, but housekeeping is another very important thing when it comes to work at height. Because like for me and for some bosses in the industries, they say you make use of the clean as you go policy. That is, as you are working, you are tidying wherever you are working. So because what this causes is that when you have things like lines or work materials hanging around, it can result to trip and you can hit your leg on them and all these things result to materials falling, personal injury and all that. This thing on work at height hazard that makes work at height dangerous is poor supervision. Like I know the UK HSC mandated that you cannot do a work at height alone. No lone working at height. One person should not work at height, even in your own house. If you are home alone, please don't do work at height because imagine trying to access your ceiling to change a bulb and then you trip from the platform you're trying to use and you get a spinal injury or something, you hit your head, then who is here? Who is there to help you? So it is advisable to do work at height in twos or you do work at height with proper and competent supervision. It is very important to do work at height under competent and strict supervision. It is a legal requirement and for your own good at home at work, just make sure you always do a work at height under supervision. So the next phase, I'm trying to go as fast as possible so we can have people ask questions and additions. So what should be the safety measures for working at height? What are the safety measures for us to put in place? Like you can see my screen, so I have each one listed out here. So first of all, if possible, avoid working at height. If possible, avoid working at height. And imagine you want to paint a wall and you have a small ruler and you're trying to reach up. Why not put an extension to the ruler and do the painting you want to do? For people that are in the offshore industry, often we have the seamen trying to do all maintenance or paint the hull of the vessel and they start using this small ruler to stretch their hand to get to where they want to paint. Why not get an extension to the roller so you can easily extend your the roller to the point you want to work on and do the job? Because really, work at height is not safe. So why not reduce the hazard by doing your possible best to avoid work at height? The second one I listed here is provide means of access and egress. Initially, I didn't want to put these measures here as part of this slide, but then I thought people always say safety professionals are always thinking negative, they're always thinking bad, or this, but the idea is, how about bring out the problems and then we find solutions to it. So I have highlighted the hazard, the issues, the problem, the dangers involved in work at height. So now these are the solutions to these dangers and hazards of work at height. So perhaps you're not a safety professional and you're here and you're probably thinking these guys are always negative minded. So this is what we do. When we see the problem, we find solutions to them. So I made mention of provide means of access and egress. So like I mentioned earlier, you have to have a safe access, a good ladder, or you provide a scaffold, or you can use a man basket, so on. So the third one here is provide a safe working platform. It is very, very important to work on a safe working platform. You don't want your working platform to cave. You don't want it to collapse. You don't want it to break, because trust me, you rely so much on your working platform that if any fuck up happens to it, then God forbid you are gone. Then another thing is prevent fall by using fall protection and fall arrest system. Prevent fall by using fall protection and fall arrest system. So for some people, they don't know what fall protection is or what fall arrest is. Example of fall protection can be guardrails, yes. An example of fall arrest system can be your harness belt or your retractable lifeline. So there's a calculation for fall arrest, which I will explain later. I will make mention of that later. So the going forward, the next thing is train workers. Like I said, I made mention of the fact that there is a hazard or a danger of having incompetent person work at height, incompetent worker. So why, instead of having incompetent worker at height, why not get them and train them to be competent to work at height? Do an induction, do a kind of in-house training, get them certified, and by doing so, then you have a competent and trained worker to do work at height. I don't know if I'm making sense. Please, can everyone hear me, and am I making sense?
Yes, loud and clear. You're making sense, sir. Please go ahead. Thank you.
Go ahead, you're making sense.
Okay, the next safety measures.
You're making sense.
The next safety measure to put in place while doing work at height is provide personal protective equipment. Some say PPE, it is PPE. Yes, that's the abbreviation for it. It is providing personal protective equipment. It is very important. While working at height, you might be working on a very smooth platform that requires safety boots, because safety boot gives your foot a solid grip while working on the platform. It might require you making use of glove to hold your working equipment properly and for other hand protections. You might require harness belt while working at height, and in order to keep you suspended. By adventure, you lose balance and you are about to fall from height. Your harness belt is there to keep you suspended. You require a reflective clothing. Some say reflective jackets, but just put on something very reflective that keeps you visible. Some people say it is visible clothing. It is very mandatory when working at height. Really, you need to keep yourself as visible as possible. You don't want to You don't want to find yourself working at height and peradventure, yeah, you're making your use of your harness belt and other PPEs, and then you are suspended and nobody can see that you are suspended. So it's mandatory that you have visible clothes or reflective clothes on when working at height. The last but not the least, is to have a rescue plan in place. So this is it. You are doing a job. You want to do a roofing job. You want to install maybe solar panels or roofing sheets, and you have your workers there. Truly, you have put in all safety measures, but at the long run or at the end, the thought is, what if something happened? What are my contingency plans? What what are the plans in place that can help me control when an incident take place? So this is your rescue plan. So you need to think, what can I do? Okay, I have this person has lost balance and the harness belt is suspending the person at height. How do you plan on getting access to the person and bringing the person down? Take note that your rescue plan should, it is very mandatory. If you are jotting, you need to write it down. Your rescue plan should be able to effectively take place within 5 minutes. Because if you are suspended at height using a harness belt, once there is pressure and there is tension on the harness belt, every part of your body is hanging, and there's restricted blood flow. And we know if there's restricted blood flow to the brain or to some other parts of the body, you start getting, you can get unconscious, and from being unconscious, it can lead to death. So whatever rescue plan that you want to put in place, it has to be able to be carried out within 5 minutes. If you are using a man basket, or if you are using a scissor lift to bring the person down, or if you have trained and certified work at height rescue operative or workers, you can have them be on standby. This really is very important when it comes to work at height. So the next one we have here are platform for safe height access. Platforms that you can have for safe work height access. This for guys in the, I saw a video some late last year of some guys making use of rope to cross, as the offshore guys, to cross from one vessel to the other. So what they do is they hold the rope and they swing. Imagine that kind of exposure to hazard, that level of risk they are taking. So you hold the rope, like, and then you swing to the next vessel. What if you are unable to swing and reach the next vessel? You're working under increments whether the sea current can change at any time, and there is sudden distance between the two vessels, and where do you find yourself? You find yourself overboard. But rather, why not use a man basket? Man basket is attached to a crane. You bring it to this other vessel. You board the man basket, and the crane picks you up and bring you to the other vessel, or to whichever access at height you want to gain to. The next we have here is the MILP. This is a abbreviation for mobile elevated work platform. This is an example of a MILP. We can see it. So this is how, let me just highlight this. It's not look, it shouldn't be as if I'm just mentioning. This is it. When you're working on a MILP, you need to make sure you are always on the platform. You don't stand on the rails. You don't stand on the guardrails. You need to ensure that you are always on the platform. And the next one we have here is the scissors lift. You can see all these things are safe means for us to access sites, and they are safe working platform for us to work at height. This is a scissors lift. This is a boson chair. For guys that work offshore, you know that often we make use of these when working at height, when we are about to work aloft. To make use of this, you sit on it and you keep yourself secured while you are doing the job. So this is a boson chair It is built by it can be built by a professional able seaman or a bosun on board a vessel. The next is a scaffold. It is required that you build a scaffold if you want to access a height. So this is a scaffold that can be safely used to access a height or to work at height. So that is all on safe working at height. But note that some of these safe working equipment I have made mention of, like this scaffold after erection by a competent person, it is required that it is certified. For some of this equipment, it is required that there's a third-party certification like the MIOP, the scissors lift, and the scaffold. It is required that it is certified by a competent scaffold inspector. The MIOP and all these electrical mobile work at height access platforms, it is mandatory that it is certified by a certified and recognized third party. In addition to that, before I round up, is that for fall arrest, I've seen people doing work. Imagine you are doing a work on a level of a height of 1.8, and you have your harness belt on, and your shock absorber and your lanyard alone is about 2 meters high, of length. So you know that is not reasonable. Something that is supposed to keep you suspended at air is even making you reach the ground. So basically, you need to do your work fall arrest calculation. That is another advanced, not really advanced on work at height. So you need to do your full arrest calculation. And I just advise that if you're doing a job beyond below from 1.8 and below, you can just remove your what's the name? You remove the shock absorber and just use the lanyard. The lanyard, I think the lanyard can be like 1 meter, so it can still keep you suspended. So you don't use the shock absorber, because the shock absorber is about 2 meters. So that we're having about 3 meters. So and you're working on somewhere of 1.8. So that is it on work at height. Do we have questions or suggestion? I'm hoping to learn more, and I'm hoping to questions. We have other professionals in the house. If I'm unable to answer, I believe they will be able to help me out. So Mr. Waliula, over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Michael. We can see the feedback. I'm enjoying the lecture. Please, if you really enjoy this lecture, please kindly give it a thumbs up. Yeah, we have on the call, we have Engineer Tuku Lawal. We have our leader on the call, Engineer Tuku Lawal. Please, you can see your hands up, sir. Please, you have any contribution, please kindly unmute, sir. Let us hear from you, sir.
Thank you, Aliu. Thank you, our able lecturer. It has been instructive, and I like the way you presented the various working at height tools that we can use. One thing, I don't know if it could be done today, maybe another session, we need to talk about emergency response when it comes to use of this equipment, because it's very critical. I've seen people use it, and I either got trapped or got entangled, and it became another safety issue. So it's good, alongside explaining these platforms, how they can be used, to also look at touch aspect like emergency response, which is very important. But very instructive. Thank you very much. I enjoyed the conversation, though I joined late. God bless you for that. Thank you, my colleagues.
Yeah, thank you so much, leader. Mr. Michael, I hope you have noted that we are going to call you again to talk about emergency response on the use of this equipment. Please kindly put that at the back of your mind and prepare towards that for next month, as instructed by our powerful leader, Engineer Tuku Lawal, the Managing Director of NICOMSAT. Thank you, and congratulations on your new appointment once again, sir. Yes, so Mr.
Congratulations, sir, and thank you very much.
Thank you, my friends and brothers and sisters.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Abanam Andrew, please, you have your hands up. Please kindly unmute yourself and ask your question or drop your contribution, sir.
All right, thanks. Good evening. I hope you can hear me.
Sorry, sir. Engineer Abanom. I thought it was Abanom, Mr. Engineer Abanom. Sorry for using the word Mr. Sir.
No problems, no issues. Zakwa is my own guy too. All right, thanks, Waliu, for the great job you are doing. I quite appreciate. And I'd like to also thank the speaker of today, Mr. Michael. You've given good justice to the topic. Thanks for shedding light and quite insightful and informative. From studies, it has been seen that work at height accidents contribute a very large sum to, the fatality that we register in the industry. And that is because most of all the factors you have highlighted in the discussion are not looked at. Very, very, very important. I didn't join at the beginning. I don't know if the definition of what makes work at height was defined, as from what elevation is considered as work at height, because one of the likely causes of failure in safe work at height is either poor or no risk assessment. Having the risk assessment of that activity brings out all foreseeable, risks, and control measures would then be assigned to those hazards. So it's very important that as from what elevation we consider an activity as work at height, and it's not limited to above ground level. It can also be below the ground level. So apologies if those were mentioned at the beginning, but just because as from when I joined, I just needed to be sure of that. So the only point, in addition to the control measures to ensure that we have a safe work at height, is risk assessment. Very, very important, because for some industry and some work locations, work at height is considered as a high-risk job. And as such, apart from the normal PTW, permit to work requirements, it is expected that a complementary risk assessment, specific risk assessment, should accompany the work documentation. Like the last speaker actually mentioned, emergency response. And I want to believe that in a robust risk assessment, you have all the hazards highlighted, you have all the controls, you have the escalation factors, and you also have the recovery measures. And under that recovery measure in your risk assessment, that is where you have things like emergency response. Should the unlikely event happen, while the activity is going on, that is where your emergency response comes in. Quite insightful subject, and I thank you, Michael Degok, again for making this very eventful presentation this evening. Thank you. So those are my few comments on this topic. I hand back to you, Waliu. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Mr. Michael, please can you quickly respond to the important question, which is the real the definition. If you, I knew you gave the definition of working at height, what it required, when they say working at height, what are those things that make a particular job work at height? But please, for the sake of my powerful engineer, can you please reaffirm this, and for those who join later, to briefly mention that?
Okay. Thank you very much, sir, for your insights. I really appreciate your contribution. So for work at height, in the very beginning, I said working at height means working at any platform, at any place where a person can potentially fall and injure, or working at height can be working above ground level. So that is my basic definition for work at height. But by some standards, it says that work at height is any job that is done from a level of 1.8, which is 6 feet and above. But because you can be working on a vertical height of 0.5 meter or 1.5 meter and still trip from that level of height. So that's why I said work at height can be any job or any task that is being done above ground level, or any task that has a potential of falling and resulting to injury. So that is it for definition for work at height.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Engineer Abanam, I hope, is that okay by you, sir?
Yes, very well, thanks. Like you mentioned, standards are very, very important. And in some standard as well, it said 4 feet. And not only that is as from 4 feet. So it depends on the standard you are using. And again, it can also be below ground level, which is below grade. Some activities you may need to go below ground level.
Yes, I think.
So thanks, quite clear. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, sir. We have a question here for engineer.
Thank you very much, Mr. Andrew.
Yeah, Mr. Michael, what is the difference between scaffolding and scaffold? Please, can you just briefly explain that? Hello, Mr. Michael, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
What is the difference between scaffold and scaffolding?
What's the question, please?
What is the difference between scaffold and scaffolding?
What's the difference between scaffold and what?
And scaffolding, scaffolding.
So a scaffold is just a fitted tubes that are together for you to gain access to height. And I don't know if there is any difference between scaffold and scaffoldings, but scaffoldings can just be perhaps the tubes or that are used for scaffold erection. But let me not mislead you. I don't think there's any difference between scaffold and scaffoldings. But if anyone has a suggestion or idea on that, you can please make contribution. But I don't think there's any difference between scaffold and scaffoldings. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, scaffolding is the art of erecting a scaffold. That's it.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So we can go ahead. Also, the person who asked the question can also do more research on that and can probably get back to us, because we know that knowledge is no knowledge is lost. We can as well say scaffolding. Scaffold is a complete erection. The complete erection of the various parts of a scaffold, of the various part. That is complete erection that we have at the end of the day. The standard, the ledger, the tubes, the what's it called, scaffold board, the toe, and every part when it's completely erect. So maybe scaffolding cannot be maybe a part of the complete erection. So please, the person can also, but like Engineer Tukur said, it can just be the use of words. Can be that scaffolding is the act of erecting scaffolds. But I know definitely that scaffold is a complete erection. So let's look at the next question before I call on the next person. Please, I saw a question the other time also. How do you install lifelines, and what are the measures for working on roofs? I think this is a complete training on itself. How do you install lifelines, and what are the measures for working on roofs? Mr. Michael, can you answer, give response to that also, please?
Okay, a brief one for lifeline installation is, before you can install lifeline, you need to have what we call roof anchors. So these lifelines runs through the roof anchors. So you install your roof anchor on your rooftop. That is, you have maybe 2 or 3 people go to the roof first. Then at every point, strategic point, you run your roof anchors around it, connecting them to each other, then tie them off. Then you can install your lifeline. They have hooks, then you run them through the hooks, then you tie the lifeline together. Then you can use your harness belt to connect it to your harness anchor connected to the lifeline and walk around the roof. And for I think the second question he said was, what are the safety? What's the second one, please?
What are the measures for walking on roofs? Yeah, I think you just mentioned one of them now. Just continue, please.
Okay, for that, I would like to say that it is very important that you are trained to walk on the roof. And basically, like when I want to train people to walk, I advise that there's what we call troughs, or we call them pull lines. So those are you don't walk in between, like maybe on a roof, you don't walk in between roofing sheets or in between platforms. It's advisable you put your weight on the truss or on the pull lines. These are the horizontal lines running on the roof, where the roofing sheet or whatever you're working on is being drilled to. So you can have your weight on there. You don't stand in between. So that is a safety measure. Thank you.
Now, thank you very much, sir. The next question. Yes, before we go to we'll come back to the platform. Very important question. What elevation is considered as walk at height?
I think we made mention of that. It is based on first, like my boss, engineer Taku said, he said that standardization is very important. So for Mr. Andrew said that some standards says 4 meters, 4 feet, and some standards says 6 feet. So it depends. But for you to, any work that is done above ground level is classified, I classify it as work at height, and I advise that you do that so you can be consciously and you know that you are working at a level of risk and you put your control measure in place. So that is it. That is the elevation level.
All right, thank you very much, sir. So Mr. Chimauchi, please kindly unmute yourself. I can see that your hand has been raised since. Please kindly unmute yourself, sir. Mr. Chima Uche hand has been on for a while. Okay, he has dropped it. I saw Mr. Sonivargase also raised up his hand. Is Mr. Sonivargase deceased there? Okay, so Mr. Chabala Kangwa, please kindly unmute yourself and tell us where you are joining us from. Where you join us from? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. This is Chabala, calling you from Zambia.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
Please go ahead.
All right, even though I joined the meeting late, I just want to contribute on the control measures for working at height. I don't know if you mentioned about work permit. I think work permit can also help us in ensuring that working at height is done correctly and the standards are followed. Yes. So I think one can share or shed more light on that one.
Thank you very much. Mushale Nkwai.
Okay, Engineer Tukula, I want to say something, sir.
I was saying Mushale Nkwai to my Zambian brother.
Okay, I think if you understand better. Okay, Mr. Michael, I think it's talking about permit to work, the importance of permit to work. I think Engineer Andrew Abadon mentioned it the other time, stressing the importance of risk assessment. Please let us mute, Mr. Joel, let us mute the importance of risk assessment, and he also made mention of permit to work. Permit to work, since the work at height is a critical work activity, I think permit to work is also one of those steps that we use in ensuring that we have a safe working at height. But let me give it to the speaker, the facilitator, Mr. Michael, to please address that question.
Please, can you come again with the question?
Yeah, he said he was talking about if work at height. That did you stress on the importance of permit to work? If it's a permit to work with working at height, use of permit to work.
Well, I didn't say much on permit to work, but let me make this straight. It is very work at height is a permit to work required activity. Well, I saw on the chat that it work at elevation can also be industry based. Well, Some people say that permit to work is for works that are not done on regular basis. That is, it is not the core activities of a particular company or industry. But whenever you want to do a work at height, it is required that you get a permit. So we have what is called permit to work for work at height. So it is filled by the safety officer together with the site supervisor and the foreman. Every hazard and risk involved at work at height is put in place, and it is highlighted, which it is advised that you fill them, and everybody working at site is carried along while doing these activities. So that is it on permit to work. So it is work at site is a permit to work required activity.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Mr. Oduko, Mr. Ajibola, please kindly unmute yourself. Mr. Odujoko, please kindly unmute yourself.
Hello. Yeah. Good evening.
Mr. Ajibola,
can you hear me, please?
We can't hear you. Okay, please go ahead now. Your network is, I think your network is bad. Network is bad. We can't. Your words are slow.
Okay, sorry. I actually wanted to add to the just.
I hear you now.
Can you hear me now?
Very loud and clear, please.
Okay, yes. What I actually wanted to say concerning the last question, control measures that we can put in place when working at height. Can you hear me loud and clear now, please?
Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, yes. After being all said and done, I think we did not mention the aspect of having an emergency response procedure, a plan in place while working at height. Okay, it is very, very important we have a suitable and sufficient risk assessment in place and other control measures. I think the aspect of emergency response procedure is also one of the key points or key part that we need to establish in the workplace to ensure even while working at height, the workers and everyone around is safe. So I think what I actually wanted to contribute is that we should have an emergency response plan, and also the risk assessment. Also, is going to state if we have a risk assessment in place. I think it's going to state that there should be an emergency response procedure and also a permit to work and the risk assessment, and which is the first thing that we should consider when working at height. So thank you very much.
Yes.
Mr. Okay, I think maybe you didn't join us earlier, but I made mention of regarding emergency response. Yes, this is very important, which I made mention on the last point. I said is for you to safely work at height, or safety measures that should be put at work at height. The last point I did mention is to have a rescue plan in place. So thank you very much, sir. I really appreciate your points, Mr. Ajibola.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you, man. Yeah, no problem.
Yes. So let's go back to the chat session. Very educative and straight to the point. A scaffold is a complete erection of parts to enable scaffolding. Why scaffolding is used to describe a part of it? Yes, like I said earlier. Okay, like I said earlier, I can see there is an 100%. There's an argument on the definition of 100% tie off when you are required to use a harness belt while working at height. What is your definition or explanation of 100% tie off? I think since there is an argument on it, I don't think we should. We can spend much time on what there are different opinions. So, is Mr. Michael, are you going to address that?
Well, let me read that again. There has been an argument on definition of 100% tie off when you are required to use a harness belt while working at height. So the thing is, when you are working at height, believe me, you want to do everything to reduce risk and exposure to risk and accidents, controlling the level of risk you have. So it is advisable that you are 100% tied off. What they mean by 100% tied off is your lanyard has to be, your harness belt has to be double lanyards, which is to be anchored at all time. I don't know whether, so that is it on 100%. It's not like you remove one lanyard and you anchor the other lanyard and you are walking, or maybe while you're walking around, at some point you feel like you cannot make use of your harness belt here. At points where you cannot make use of harness belt, you make use of retractable lifelines. So I don't think there is any misunderstanding, or there should be any argument on that. When you are at height, you need to be maintained 100% tied off. If your harness will not work at a particular point, because truly as you proceed at work at height, some control measures you have initially put in place might not be able to work. So you change your control measures. That's why we have our risk assessment review. You review your risk assessment. If harness belts will not work here, then let's make use of retractable. If our harness lifeline will not work, then we make use of our retractable lifeline. So that is it on 100% tie off while working at height. So I hope that settles the argument on 100% definition or being 100% tied off at height. Thank you.
All right, because of time, we still have what is the difference between risk assessment and job analysis? I think this is outside the scope of today's training, but quickly, we're talking about risk assessment is a document that is required before the start of a project. Before you start of the complete project, you need to have a risk assessment, which is drafted from the method statement that the engineers have put together and the manager. So from that, you develop your hazard identification and risk assessment. Some people call it IRA, that is hazard identification and risk assessment. Some people call it RAMS, risk assessment and method statement. Whatever it is a whole document that addresses the whole risk attached to the project and the emergency procedures for all the activities, for the complete activity. While for job as an analysis is for a particular task that you want to carry out, you need to carry out a job as an analysis. Let me give an example. If you want to erect a building, now want to complete a building, the complete erection of the building will require you to have a risk assessment for every part of the building, for every part of the activity you take place for the project. While for job as an analysis, maybe when you start the project, after you've and your RA will have a risk rating. While for job as an analysis, after you started the project, for a particular day or a week, you want to do installation of roof or carpentry work or scaffold or work at height. For all this activity, you create job as an analysis for them, and that is the difference. Work at elevation can also be industry-based. Okay, I think these are comments. So let me go to Mr. Wisdom Uyo. Please kindly unmute yourself quickly. And please let's make it brief. Mr. Wisdom Uyo.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, sir.
Okay, I've been following the program, though I didn't come in earlier, but I think I missed the